Hello and welcome to a basic guide on artificial intelligence with a focus on prompting. In this session, we're going to be looking mainly at two tools, that is Bard and ChatGPT. This session will be part 1 of 2, and we'll be looking at the how-to of prompting. We'll be looking at some of the basics of prompt engineering. We'll also be looking at how to develop an accurate prompt. In part 2, we'll focus more on content generation tools and examples of what is possible. So, prompting how-to. So when it comes to prompting, there are 3 main things that you need to ensure that you're doing correctly in order to get the desired output. First of all, you would tell the AI how to be or what specifically to do. So you could say something along the lines of, you are a teacher and you are creating a lesson plan, or you are a year 3 child whose second language is English, or you are a film critic, etc. Secondly, you should provide very clear instructions that are specific to your output. For example, translate, summarize, or explain. Thirdly, you should provide training data in order to help the output to be more specific. When it comes to providing data, always ensure that the information that you are sharing is safe to be shared. For example, if you're sharing information from an organization to an AI that would share that information more broadly, it would be wise to follow your organization's procedures and ensure that you are not sharing that sensitive data with the AI. And the same can be said when it comes to student data. You would not use student data to train AI in any way, shape, or form. So that being said, we would use maybe a previously generated piece of writing that you have produced, and you could input that and ask the AI to reproduce a similar text in the same style as the text that you've already produced. Or if there were non-sensitive data that you've collected, for example, from a class experiment, you could input that into the AI and ask it to extrapolate on that data. There are a number of ways that you could use safe information and input it into your large language model in order to produce your desired output. So the 3 points here are to tell the AI how to be or what to do, provide clear instructions, and also provide training data. All of these will provide a more accurate output. Let's have a look at some basics of prompt engineering. First of all, we as the user will start with our input. Things to consider when we're giving our input. There is something referred to as no-shot input. And when we talk about no-shot, one-shot, or few-shot, this refers to data that the large language model is being fed in order for it to learn from. So in this instance, the no-shot input would be you have not provided any information. You are just asking the AI to produce something for you. For example, you could ask it to translate a specific piece of text. You would then explain the specific output format you would like, and then it will produce the output. Same could be said for summarizing, explaining, asking the AI for something specific, a direct question, and also a specific task, as stated earlier with the English teacher scenario. In each of these, you are not giving any previous information for the AI to learn from, and you are just asking it to produce a specific set of data in a particular output for your scenario. In one-shot prompt engineering, you would have provided it with a specific source of information. As an example, you would tell the AI, if y equals x, what would y equal if x were b? That would be the training that the large language model would use in order to produce the subsequent outputs. So that one shot would include a single formula, and that formula, as I said, it could be a specific algorithm, as I've just mentioned as an example, or it could be a piece of text. It could be a specific website, but there is a specific place where the AI would be learning from. It is taking information from a single data set. You would then instruct it on the output format, and then it would produce the output. And the same can be said for FewShot. Rather than it being one formula, you'd have several formulae that are entered, and whether that be one source of text, one paragraph of text, multiple paragraphs of text, or a few data sets, there would be more than one source of information that the large language model will be learning from. Then you would ask it to produce the information in a specific format, and then it will produce exactly what you have asked for. What we're going to do is have a look at some examples of creating a prompt in which we would produce our desired output. But we'll look at this in stages. For this example, we will use a task. For example, to generate a short non-fiction story based on recycling. First of all, we're going to take this input and we're going to go over to ChatGPT, and we are going to input that here. Let's see what it gives us. Okay, so we can see here that we have been provided with a story, and we could read through this, and this may be suitable for your needs. However, if you are a year 6 teacher, your needs would be different from if you were a year 4 teacher or if you were a year 8 teacher. And we haven't been very specific at all with our prompt here. So these are the types of results that we would get, and it is quite hit and miss. And you would have to come through all the detail to ensure that it's suitable for your class. Let's do the same thing now in Bard and see what we come up with. Okay, the interesting thing here is it has included images, and it's got quite a lot of information here. So again, we could be a lot more specific in terms of the vocabulary. Did we want images? Did we not want images? The amazing thing about Bard in comparison to ChatGPT, let me just show you very quickly. You can select this icon here to ask it to regenerate your output. Whereas with Bard, you can view other drafts immediately. And you can just skip between draft 1, draft 2, and draft 3, and try to select something that you feel would be more suitable. So let's have a look at our prompt and see if we can be a bit more specific in terms of what we could ask the AI to produce. So, specified output. Have we been specific? We could say something such as use a maximum of 4 paragraphs with 3 or more sentences per paragraph, which include at least 5 examples of verbs and adverbs for students to identify when reading. So this is useful for somebody who is teaching an English lesson, and it is honing in on the learning intention for that lesson, which is a focus on verbs and adverbs. We could also, to ensure that the information that's given is reliable, ask the AI specifically to not make up any detail and to include information that can be verified by a source. Now let's use this more specific detail to see if we can generate something a bit more relevant to our situation in our class. So let's go back over to ChatGPT. Let's input this prompt and see what it comes up with. Okay, so this time we have 1, 2, 3 paragraphs. It's more concise than the previous version, and this is getting closer to what I'm after. Let's try the same thing in Bard. Let's enter the prompt here, and let's select enter. Okay, again, it's created a short story, and it has got a certain vocabulary in there that is very good, very handy. For this task, the idea of the students being able to find the verbs and find the adverbs it would be handy for me if my instructions were more specific so that the output actually highlighted those for me, maybe not in the text, but after the text. So let's go back and see if we can make this prompt a bit more specific. So we could think about the actual reading age, and the gauge that I like to use is the Flesch-Kincaid reading age. So we're going to ask the AI to use a Flesch-Kincaid reading age for 7 to 9 year olds. We can also add a bit more specificity here, so we can focus on littering at the beach. We can also ask it to include information based on research, and we could also ask it to include percentages as well if we wanted our lesson to have statistics that students could cite in their discussion points. In terms of the outputs as well, we could also ask the AI to list the adverbs and verbs underneath the story and also including their definitions. So let's input this new prompt into ChatGPT and Bard and see what it comes up with. Okay, so now we are getting closer to something that I could use in a lesson. So we have more simplified language here, and we have our list of adverbs and verbs with their definition as well. So this could be used as a resource for students to actually highlight them directly. It could be used for differentiation. Some students could have that. Some students might not have that. Okay, excellent. Now let's go back over to Bard and do the same thing. Let's input this prompt and see what it produces for us. Okay, excellent. So we have our same 3 paragraphs. And what I'd like to do at this point actually is just take this over to a website that I like to use just to check the reading age to ensure that this is exactly what I was looking for. So let's copy this and let's head over to our readability test. So I'm going to paste this story in there and calculate the readability score. Okay, so this is a readability score of 51. Now on the Flesch-Kincaid reading ease, 51 isn't as easy to read as I would like it to be. We can see here it has an average grade level of grade 10. So for us that would be year 9. So we could actually make this a bit more easily accessible to our students by changing our prompt even more. So what we could add to our prompt is something else. So we haven't actually framed the specifics of where our AI is starting from. So we could set the context, and we could tell the AI that you are a class teacher preparing an English lesson resource for a class of year 4 pupils in England. And hopefully this should help the vocabulary to be a bit more focused on England. It should also help with our reading age as well. So let's grab this as our final prompt and put it into ChatGPT first. And let's see what it produces. Okay, very good. So first of all, I can see that it's got my 3 to 4 paragraphs. It's got a percentage in there. It's got my list of adverbs and verbs. And this will be something that I could quite easily use. Just having a glance at the vocabulary, it seems quite accessible. And of course, I would know my class to see whether this text is accessible for all. And let's do the same thing in Bard and see what it comes out with. Okay, so again, we have 1, 2, 3 and a bit paragraphs, and we have a percentage here. We have our list of verbs and adverbs at the bottom here. We've got even a set of instructions. This is quite good, and this could be used as a lesson resource. So let's just copy this text as an example, and let's go over and check our reading age and see if we've increased this from 51 with our additional input. Okay, very good. So it's increased slightly to 58. I think this is still around a grade 9, which is a year 8. The final step that I would show you is using the information here. I would use this text as my one-shot input. So what I'm going to do here is underneath, I'm going to say using the following text, colon, and then I'm going to copy all of this, Command C, and I'm going to input it there. Now holding Shift and return, I can type something underneath without pressing return to submit the command. And now I can say, following on from what I've said at the top, using the following text, generate the same story using simpler vocabulary for younger children to be able to read it. So I have my initial one shot, which is the story that has already been created. So this is safe. This isn't unsafe data to share and to train the AI on, but I'm using it to train the AI to say, this is the example that I like. Could you please simplify this for me? And in doing so, this should produce an output that would be differentiated. And rather than me scouring the internet for something that is differentiated, I have now asked the AI to generate this for me. And we can see that it's a lot shorter than the previous example. And what I can do is grab this and just double check on my readability test to check the reading age of this. Hopefully it should be higher than 53. We can see now this is 78.4. So this has very quickly given me a differentiated text of the same example. So we're not working on different text, but I have got a resource that is ready for use in class with very minimal preparation from myself. And this should be very helpful for you when creating lesson resources in your classrooms. So thinking about the context, the specific task, the specified output, and ensuring the reliability of the information that it's producing and that it's not just making up information on the spot. Another tip for the last section is to ask the AI to provide references underneath the text, which of course it can do, and it will provide links if you ask it to as well. So we are going to end this session here, and in the next session we'll be looking at generating content that doesn't exist in the form of images, etc.